Did you ever create a drawing or a painting that looked pretty nice but just wasn't banging on all cylinders? Or maybe your work lacks believability or realism? In this video, I'm going to share with you the one thing that every artist must master, and I'm going to show you how to start understanding it and improving it immediately. So hit it! Hi, my name is James Owens, and I've been a working artist for over 35 years. On this channel, I share with you the techniques, tips, hacks, and history to help you become a better artist. There are so many elements of a painting an artist has to be aware of. Line, color, perspective, lighting, but the most important of these is tonal values. I believe this is the main reason most paintings fail. So you've just finished a new painting, and it looks pretty good. The lighting's good, the color's good, but something's just not quite right. Chances are, if your drawing and your design are good, your tonal values might be off. Even more important than color is tonal value. Tonal value is everything. Tonal values is where it all starts. A child at play with a pencil and paper will start with a line drawing, but as soon as they start shading in an area, they're creating tonal value. And that child will spend a lifetime refining that skill. So, what are tonal values? Well, let's see. In the simplest terms, tonal value is how light or dark an object is. Now, what tonal value isn't? We're not talking about color here, like how bright a color is, like yellow, or how dark a color is, like purple. That has to do with chroma and color perception, and we'll talk about color in another video. But you're saying, Jim, I love color. I love to paint with color. And that's great. But if you'll master tonal value, your color work will be better than you ever imagined it could be. Both tonal value and color do marry together. But in order to master them, we have to separate them for study. So who needs to be mastering tonal value? Everyone who calls themselves an artist, from the painter to the charcoal artist to the sculptor. When we create a painting, we're describing the 3D shape of an object. And we don't do that with color, we do that with tones. A painter controls tones with paint, but a sculptor controls tones by creating shapes that either catch the light or hide from the light. In order to do that, an artist must train their eye to differentiate the light and the dark from the noise of the color of what they're looking at. The easiest way to grasp the concept of tonal values is to examine black and white photography. With black and white photography, the color has been stripped away, leaving only the tonal values. And because tonal value is what really describes form, this is why black and white photography still looks correct to our eye. Now, tonal values in a painting you're creating will vary due to the lighting in your piece. For example, something that appears white in full daylight may appear dark or even black depending on your lighting. But for our study, we're going to keep things simple. What we want to do is train ourselves to be able to detect a wide range of light and dark values. It sounds simple, but you will spend a lifetime refining this ability. It also sounds a bit daunting, but I get kind of excited thinking, well, I'm not there yet, but I ain't where I was yesterday. Hey, stick around to the end of the video and I'm going to share with you a bonus tool to help you understand the tones that you see. One of the best exercises I've ever found for understanding and controlling tonal values is to create a simple gradation scale. Now I say simple, but it's harder than it looks. I believe this one exercise will immediately help you improve your ability to see and control tonal value, which will therefore immediately improve your work. Okay, here's what you're going to need. A piece of illustration board or canvas, a tube of black paint, a tube of white paint, a ruler, and a pencil. Now the first thing we want to do is lay out a 1-inch strip 11 inches long. Then we want to divide that strip into 11 1-inch squares. I like to tape off the grid to keep it neat, but only use black or white tape because colored tapes will distract your eye. This is where the eye training starts. Now in the first square, we'll lay in a swatch of 100% black. This is our darkest tone. In the second square, you'll lay in 90% black with 10% white. The third square will be 80% black with 20% white, and so on, working down the graph in 10% increments until you finally get to the last square that is 100% white. What we're trying to do is learn to adjust the slight gradations in percentages. Now this is a basic exercise, like a musician practicing scales. We've broken this down into 10% ranges, but in reality, when creating a painting, you'll have a much greater range of values. Now this isn't a reference tool to be referred back to later like a color wheel. This is an exercise that I want you to do multiple times until you're comfortable with the process. Now don't skip it. This exercise will pay dividends for years to come. Guys, if you're liking this video, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and don't forget to hit that bell so you won't miss any of my upcoming videos. An additional exercise that I want you to do is to create a small painting in monochrome. Ooh, fancy artist talk. It just means one color. Now grab any black and white reference photo that you want to work from. And I do want you to use a photo to work from rather than making up a drawing, because we're trying to observe what happens in nature. And even if you're someone who likes to break the rules in art, the better you know the rules, you'll be able to break the rules with greater effect. So let's dig a little deeper. I've chosen this photo of 1930s cowboy star Tom Tyler for its nice example of tonal variations. The gradation scale was meant to teach you how to judge slight differences in tonal value. When putting this in practice, what you're actually doing is comparing and adjusting your values relative to the ones next to it. First thing you want to do is identify your darkest dark and lay that in. This does two things. One, it establishes a baseline for you to work your lighter tones up from, and two, it covers canvas. Now I came out of the advertising world where time is money, so I learned to get paint on the canvas pretty quickly. And there's nothing worse than staring at a blank canvas. This is another reason I always tone my canvas all over before I start. Now I'm purposely not blending the tones in this piece and keeping them blocky so you can see my choices better. Now if this were to be a more finished piece, you could blend the tones you've laid in, creating a much finer gradation of tone. Now don't feel like you have to get your tones right on the first lay-in. You probably won't. Just go back in and adjust like you did when you made the gradation scale. It's a constant push and pull. The great masters quite often would first create a monochrome underpainting, then come back over it with glazes and build up their color. I still use a monochromatic underpainting for some of my work. Hey, Norman Rockwell worked that way, and if it's good enough for Rembrandt and Rockwell, it's good enough for me. Now this study only took about 30 minutes in real time, so you can see how doing a simple lay-in of percentages of tone can quickly give you a pretty accurate description of form. Now this is just a basic primer on tonal values. The real work will come from you getting in there and doing some heavy lifting. Don't be afraid that you'll do it wrong. There is no wrong. There's only apply and adjust, push and pull. No one gets it completely right on the first lay-in of tone, but the more you train, the easier it'll be to discern those values. Here's that bonus tip I promised you. A little trick I like to use if I'm having trouble understanding a value is I'll cut a small square from a piece of cardstock or paper, leaving a little window to isolate the tone that I want to examine. Using white as a control allows me to judge the percentage of light and dark that I'm seeing. It also helps me to focus on one part without being confused by all the other variations of tone I'm seeing. This is also a great trick to use on color reference. If you're having trouble discovering what color you need to mix, you can lay this over a piece, and with that white around it, gives you a much clearer view of what you need to do. Another great way to use this is to actually lay in a swatch of your tone that you've mixed up right on the cardstock next to the opening or on the edge. This way you can compare it directly to your reference and make sure you're in the ballpark. Hey, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments if you have any questions about dealing with tonal values. I'll do my best to answer them. I love this old saying, value does the work, but color gets the credit. Or I like to think of it as tonal value is the meat and potatoes, and color is the gravy. Well, I hope you found this video valuable. Until next time, go make something cool. Owens out.